Hello everyone, here psst.one. Today another interview with Alessandra Leone. She is a motion designer, video director and visual artist based here in Berlin. She is one of the founders of StratoFyzika Collective, a multidisciplinary group, and recently she won the first prize at Berlin Music Video Awards for the best experimental video. But you will see all this stuff, so enjoy!
How did you start with visual?
This is what happened. Well, I studied music when I was in high school for a really long time. And then I went to the university and I studied graphic design. And I mean, it makes sense if you put together graphic design and if you have a passion for music, it kind of becomes natural. And that's how I started with video. And I got into animation a lot and editing. It came pretty easily, like at a technical level. And yeah, that's it. And then from motion graphics, I got to editing, and then I got interested into like interactive systems because I think it makes sense as a next step after that. And then generative visuals, and then now I'm into VR. So yeah, that's the path.
But did you start in Italy naturally? And
I studied in Italy, yeah.
Yeah, but you already performed in Italy with some crew?
I used to do some VJing, and it's kind of a good training. I guess everybody kind of started there at some point. Grab like a lot of videos from YouTube or whatever, put them together and like mix them in real time. And the first time I did a VJ gig, and it was like many years ago, I think I had 3 clips, that's it. Modulate and 3 clips. But you can do so much. You have a lot of effects, you can overlay different clips on top of each other, and that was enough. It was a lot of fun, I liked it. So yeah, it was, I guess at some point, I came to a point when I was like just doing a lot of commercial stuff, but that wasn't enough. It was a bit too commercial. Then I decided to kind of start, try at least to split and do like a 70% of commercial jobs and the rest keep it for artistic, whatever. And that's, yeah, also where I am now, more or less. I guess now the balance is 50-50, but yeah.
Your last collaboration is with Zoe Person, if I've done wrong with the pronunciation. And you did the last album, I guess.
Yeah, her new album. Okay. But it was from the beginning. It was meant to be an audiovisual album, so that's why she got to me before finishing working at the sound. That was also really interesting because somehow she was still working at the music part of it, and we were already working at the visual concept of it. So, and the collaboration worked really well. We clicked together really quickly and really well. And this is also why it still is a really good collaboration. I mean, we are actually doing live performances with it, and we are going to release the last 3 videos of 7. Big project.
It's a huge work.
It is a huge work. Well, I mean, it's funny enough. So we were at a meetup of Female Pressure, that is a network for female musicians and visual artists, even though not many visual artists are involved, a lot of musicians, but it is a really nice network. There is nice meetups happening. There was a meetup happening in Berlin, and she just got to me and said, look at that, I have an open call for visual artists. I want to make 7 videos for the 7 tracks of my new album. She got some funding from the Flemish funding organization, and it was a really good start. We clicked really well together. The concept was really interesting because as the album is called The String Figures, that is this kind of game that maybe you used to do as a kid with a string and making the figures, and it is a really ancient practice that I mean, has been tracked all over the world. And I found it really interesting the way that, you know, I always work with like kind of scientific concepts. So in a way it was also nice to join like a concept from somebody else that was a bit more human in a way, like more organic. And that is exactly that kind of organic feeling we were looking for. So yeah, so 7 videos for 7 tracks, huge work.
But for all the 7 videos you have this common line. You develop all the time a new aesthetic for that?
Exactly. So what we did is trying to develop a general aesthetic for the whole thing. And then another idea that she already had at the beginning and then we developed together was also having different styles. So we would have 3D, different, like we collaborated with 2 3D artists that do really different kind of 3D, but still like there is something in common. And my direction part was basically like trying to have that work with everything else. So we had 2 shooting days and we had the storyline for that. The material that we filmed was used into like more videos of the 7. So yeah, I tried to like really put different styles together, different approaches, but still the concept is the same. So yeah, for sure there was quite a lot of work on that too. But I think it makes sense also with the music. The music is really various, like has different approaches even like there. So I think like the visual part is of course a reflection also of the music.
You are also part of the StratoFyzika collective. You found the StratoFyzika collective,
yes.
Right?
Back in 2012, I was organizing an event for the Fanfractal group. And it was a really good excuse to actually meet with other artists. And back then I was doing DJing and I was like doing a lot of live visuals, but I wanted to collaborate with a dancer and kind of start a project that wouldn't just mean like we do one thing, we do one live. It was more, I wanted to create something that would also mean create more than one little show, but like it's more of a research kind of thing that could go on for like a few months. At least that was my plan, but we started in 2012 and it seems like we're still doing it, so I guess it was working well then.
And how was your part? Because in that you did how many performances? 3, if I'm not wrong?
5.
5.
4 or 5. But funny enough, like the first, so I was organizing that event and we put something together in 1 week. We didn't know each other. So like Lena, she came with the music and then I worked at the visuals on top of the music, and then Hen, she worked at the movement in the frame of the visuals and the music. But it is, you know, it could also go really bad, like we didn't know each other, so who knows what could happen. But it was nice to push it that way. And yeah, from there we kind of integrated that interactivity, because of course whenever you have a dancer, it is absolutely interesting working with just rendered out visuals and dance. But I always felt it was missing something, you know, like a live component where the visuals and the sound, they could be affected by the movement in a more natural way, you know, that's the thing. Like it shouldn't be like something pre-constructed. It's more about having that little component that means whatever she's gonna do today during the performance, you know, there will be then, because of that choices that she makes, there's gonna be something happening in the sound and the visual. And the whole thing is really interesting, more on a research level.
How developed this aesthetic in StratoFyzika during these years?
Started from where I was, like what was my aesthetic in terms of visuals. So rather go for something really simple and mess up with the perception. It is in the end a lot about perception and the perception of space, the perception of sound. That's also why we're like working with the quadraphonic sound now. It is in the end about perception, but it didn't want to be something complicated or something too full. To me, like, and this is, you know, also like the kind of work I was doing with my live visuals, it had to be something simple. So because I like to take it from there and then dig more into the kind of effect that it has on audience. But yeah, that's the starting point.
The other side of your life, you're a motion graphic designer, and yeah, basically more the work at that. How these affect your artistic side? There is a connection or not? You divide a lot?
No, there is definitely a connection, and I can say that for sure, like working for more like the commercial side of it, it did teach me a lot, because it means always making something perfect. You know, there is like nothing can go wrong. Everything has to be pitch perfect. That's, you know, how we work for clients. And of course, whenever you do something for somebody else and you learn how to make it really well for somebody else so that the client is happy, in a way, it is a bit easier doing something for yourself. Or at least it was a really good step before, for me at least, because I think really it affected a lot like the way I work at my artistic projects.
Next projects?
Well, more StratoFyzika, for sure. I'm doing some like lighting installations for Lucrezia Dalt. She's gonna perform at Atonal, so it seems like we may be working at that with a lighting installation. So yeah, lighting is the next thing I'm kind of embedding, and I used a bit StratoFyzika as a testing in a way, because as I said, like there I can actually do whatever I want, because we also like the way we work together is also based on trust, mutual trust, and we understand each other really well. So usually like one of us comes with an idea that gets usually really excited for the others, and then everybody's adding on top of that something else from her discipline, let's say. So I use more lighting because in a way it was an obvious development of whatever kind of like simple visuals I was doing, and then I started using projection as light, and then from there I started using projection as light and lighting. So I got into these LED tubes a lot, and because they kind of allow you to do many things using really simple tools. And I think like simplicity is for me always a starting point. That's why I love doing the live patching with Isadora, you know, like start with the empty patch and, you know, have it develop during the performance. May go wrong or maybe not.